Hey, welcome to the very first Build With Me live stream here at the Tech Savvy Academy channel. Um, I am, for obvious reasons, starting with Trello, but the plan is to do some Build With Me's in lots of different systems. So if you are joining in and watching this, let me know a couple of things. First off, say hi in the comments. Let me know where you're watching from. And let me know if there are other platforms besides Trello that you'd like to see a Build With Me done on. And as we're going through this particular build, there will probably be inspiration for you for other types of boards that you might want to see. So please make sure that you let me know that in the comments as well. I will be gathering all of that information for later to, start planning out future Build With Me's here on the channel. As I mentioned before and in the description and everything like that, this is going to be a partially automated meal planner. I hope that you have your computer set up with you and that you're going to actually build with me instead of just watch me build. That is the goal here. If you're not, then you can always just get inspiration and come back to this later. But hopefully you're going to build with me. And if you come up with any ideas while we're going through this, and either you want to suggest them to me or you just think, hey, this is a cool idea that I'm going to do on my meal planner, drop it in the comments. Let us know, because you never know who you might inspire. Burgers are always good. Okay, so let me backtrack for a quick second. When I say that I am building out a meal planner, yes, there will be burgers and all of that, but this is going to be less about what recipes we have here on the board, because that's going to evolve over time, right? We're going to have different recipes come and go in our, just based on what we like and what our circumstances are. This is more about creating a routine, something that is repeatable and helps us stay consistent. Because let me tell you, I have tried so many times in my life, and let me know that I'm not alone on this in the comments, but I have tried so many times to meal plan for health reasons, for budget reasons, for both, right? I have tried so hard to come up with different meal planners and, I'll plan out an entire week's worth of meals and then go to the grocery store for it and, maybe make half the things and then life happens. And so one of the things that I will be building into this, and that I do recommend you do as well, is some flexibility, because we all know that life does not happen the way we expect it to, and we need to account for flexibility in our lives and especially in our meal planners. So I've started a little bit here, and I'm going to just go ahead and dive right in and bring this meal planner onto the stage with me. I will probably get lost in this a little bit. So I will check in with the comments every few minutes or so just to make sure I don't miss anything. But ultimately, I started just really, really high level here. Actually, as soon as I started planning out that this was what I was going to do my first Build With Me about, it has been so hard for me not to start building. Because I don't know about you, but once I get an idea for a different Trello board that I want, whether it's for my business or something for my life or something like this, which is kind of like both, because as a solo business owner, it's incredibly important that I have process and routine around everything. I'm going to just move this microphone. Let me know if the sound is okay, because this is kind of a new mic setup and all that good stuff. So if you can't hear me or if I'm too loud, just let me know. But anyway, so when I get an idea to build a board like this, I tend to like to strike while the iron's hot. So it has been very, very hard for me not to dig into this board already and start building. But what I'm planning to do here is kind of just give you guys a window into what I do when I come in here to build a new board for something. Oh, awesome. Thank you, Melanie. So this is what I do. I tend to come in here and just start building and, come up with ideas as I go. And so I'm just going to kind of stream of consciousness this at you guys so that you understand what I'm doing and why. And like I said, if you see any room for potentially an automation I'm not seeing, or maybe as I'm building out labels, because I have a feeling that labels are going to be really key in this particular build. If you have ideas for different types of labels that might be helpful for all of us, drop it in the comments. Let us know. Don't be shy. So basically, I've got a few things going on here. I have already, it's like I said, I have tried doing this in the past, and I have used Trello in the past to try to do this, and it still did not work. So I think it's because I didn't have a clear system going on behind it, right? Because we've all learned you can build a beautiful Trello board, but if you haven't built a process around that board, again, whether it's business or personal, anything, I think this is just how Trello boards work in general, this kind of organization. If you have not planned the process around how the board is meant to work, including, and I will go into this a little bit deeper, including cleanup, allowing the board to keep itself clean, because that is a really big one for me. And you'll see in a minute when you see what I'm planning on doing with checklists, why that's going to be so important. But when you're building something like this, if you just make this really cool board and you don't set any process around it, and you don't set any automation or any of that stuff, then, you tend to use it for a short amount of time and then you fall off because it becomes yet another thing on your to-do list, right? So we're going to attempt to avoid that here. All right. We are going to try to build an actual process into this. Like I said, something that keeps itself clean and clutter free so that we don't have to add keeping our board clean onto our list. So what I've got here so far, I am using a premium board, but a lot of what we're going to do won't require that. In fact, probably most of. I will call it out if there's anything that I'm doing that is specifically in a standard or premium level versus in the free plan. But I've got a bunch of recipe cards here. These are things that I have simply pushed over here from other boards that I have that have failed. We will have a running repository here of recipes, and not everything is going to make it, I don't think, into my recipe library right away, because let's just dive in and then we'll kind of go from there. But if you have any questions, as I'm going here and as I'm talking, I will be talking very fast. So if I do something and I don't explain it clearly enough, or you need me to slow down or back up or any of that, drop it in the comments. Happy to do that. Okay, so I have started though like a few of my recipe library cards, because the two primary lists that are going to be the functions behind this board are going to be this week's menu and the recipe library. Okay. And let me backtrack for a quick second and say that part of this, in fact, the inspiration for me doing this meal planner board in the first place came from my Trello buddy, Brittany. If y'all don't know Brittany Joyner, I mean, you have to know Brittany Joyner if you know Trello. So shout out to Brittany, because I caught a glimpse of a live stream she did that was similar to this like 3 years ago or something. And there was something she did that I didn't even realize Trello could do. This is one of the things that I love so much about Trello, is that there is so much going on, so much capability, that even myself, I've been using Trello for over a decade and I still find things that I didn't know existed. So it was something that, and I will call out when I get to that really sparked the, oh my gosh, this might actually make this work for me. So we're going to give this a go. But these two lists are going to be the primary. And ultimately, once I've got things organized, these other lists will no longer be needed. They won't even be collapsible, because they will just be on the recipe library. Okay. It's just I have, as you can see here, quite a few recipes that I need to organize and kind of lay out correctly. So let's go into what I mean by that real quick. So these few that I've done as an example, inside the card, for myself, I have put a cover photo. I typically take whatever when I'm on a recipe site, I'll take their best money shot photo, because it will make me hungry when I see it. And so it will inspire me to choose that as what I want to make that week, right? Or to be fair, what I want my husband to make, because he does a lot of the cooking, if not all. But anyways, I then copy into the description the instructions straight from the recipe. And then I am pasting, and this part is key, I am pasting all of the ingredients onto a checklist, and that checklist is always called ingredients, and you'll see why when we get into building some automation here. But that's what I mean when I say taking one of these recipes and formatting it in the right way. So like, for example, this one doesn't actually come from a recipe because this is a family recipe. This is something that we've made for a long time. And so, I mean, a lot of people have some version of this, right? So I don't actually have instructions on this one because it's kind of just throw it all in the bowl, right? So I don't need instructions, but I do still need ingredients. So this one actually can simply move over right now because it's pretty much ready to go. But what I do want to look at here is our labels. In fact, let's go into our labels from over here where we're just going to see them all real clean. So I'm going to do a little bit of label cleanup because, like I said, and this might happen to you too, if you are transferring your recipes from perhaps another board that you were already making an attempt to do something like this, or just have a recipe library, or if you're repurposing an existing one and you're kind of rethinking it, you're going to want to make sure you go in and kind of clean up your labels, primarily because that's just good board hygiene, but also because when we're building automations, we don't want to, or we would like to avoid having multiple labels that are the same color when that's possible, because you might accidentally grab the wrong one into your automation. So I just kind of keep it clean. So let's see what we've got on here so far. So we've got quick and easy. That is a label that I want to use. I am debating. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I am debating doing some of these as custom fields. So it's not necessary at all. So if you're in a free workspace, you can absolutely do all of this with labels. But one of the things that I have seen a lot more recently is this idea that labels should be used kind of more categorically, right? And I'm going to say the word should here, but like there is no should in my opinion. Like there's no real right and wrong way to use Trello. It's kind of why I love it, because yeah, there are best practices, but you can do whatever you want. So like I said, if you don't have custom fields, by all means use labels. But because I don't necessarily want to have to put a ton of labels on my cards when they have multiples of these categories, I'm kind of debating the custom field aspect of it. So I'm going to keep thinking on it. If you have a thought on that, drop it in the comments here. But so we've got quick and easy, take some time, healthy, not so healthy, meal prep required. So to me, that's kind of same thing as take some time, right? So I'm going to go ahead and delete that one. We don't need that duplicate. Eaten. I don't remember why this is here. My thought is that maybe it's there because previously I was using that to indicate when I've actually used a recipe, but I think I could just do that with completing the card. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that one as well. Grab and go. That's quick and easy. Same thing to me. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of that. And then what was that other one? On hand now. Okay, so this was, I think, when I was trying to be a little more, I was trying to keep an inventory of what was in my pantry, like things that I already have. That's not realistic. I learned that one a long time ago. So I'm actually going to get rid of that one as well. So what I'm definitely going to do though is I want to categorize. So you can see here we've got certain categories already kind of obvious, right? We've got things like, well, ground meat, but I think I might simplify that and make it like beef or turkey or whatever. I think I'm going to do that. But obviously beef is an option, poultry, but I think I'm going to split that and have a chicken and a turkey. And then vegetarian for sure. So let's go ahead into our labels. And we're going to start using some other labels. So let's go ahead and make purple chicken. I don't know why, but purple sounds like chicken to me. Okay. And then let's create another one. And this one's going to be turkey. Let's make another one for beef. Sure, beef is pink. Can be, right? And then let's see. Chicken, turkey, beef. Oh, vegetarian. Vegetarian was another one. So let's go ahead. Actually, that color's perfect. Vegetarian. Those are the obvious ones coming to my mind right now. And then there's an extra one that I'm going to add in here. You may or may not need this, but I'm a big fan of Skinny Taste. I don't know if you guys know Skinny Taste. Gina Homolka, I think is how you say her name. She has amazing recipes. They are healthy and they are delicious. So I'm going to indicate when we are using or when we have a Skinny Taste recipe on hand. And her color is orange. So I'm going to go ahead and stick with that. Oops. Skinny Taste. Okay. So that is good. So we can go ahead in here and start adding a couple of labels. Even though this one has bacon, I think, well, I guess I shouldn't call it vegetarian, huh? Oh, I didn't put pork. Oh, that's a good call out. I'm glad I saw that. Okay. So then we'll create one more label and we'll do pork. Okay. So we'll add any labels that apply to this particular thing right now. We're only going to do this for the ones that are currently in my recipe library. Just because I don't, you guys don't need to sit here and look at all of the stuff that I'm doing. You don't need to watch me build out all of this, but we will go ahead and do this for all the ones that I have prepped in the library so that we can really start seeing things go. Okay, so this one, I don't think I went in and added this yet, but one of the things I was trying to bring in, oh, this is one of those Skinny Tastes. See, doesn't that look good? I mean, I want that right now. Okay, but I did bring in, and I am trying to bring in the amount of time it takes. So I'm trying to go even more specific than our label of quick and easy and actually put in things like prep time and cook time. Because especially when we're talking about things like crock pot and stuff like that, those things might not take a whole lot of my time, but I need to prepare in advance, right? So that it's ready when I need it. So those are things that I'm thinking I might add in as custom fields and maybe keep this other stuff as labels the way that I've been doing it. But so let's go ahead and come in here. This one is pretty quick. So we'll go ahead and put a quick and easy on this one. Taco salad. I don't know why I said take some time. That does not take some time. And then meat wise, I mean, it can be turkey, but I'm going to put, I mean, it can be beef, but I'm going to put turkey because this is typically more of a healthy type recipe. And so turkey would be a better choice there, right? I am not a nutritionist, by the way. But that's just my assumption that turkey would be healthier. This is not healthy. No, this is not healthy. We will go ahead and say not healthy. Okay. Blueberry muffins. These, I believe, were Skinny Taste. Yes. So these are Skinny Taste blueberry muffins, and that makes them healthy. So we're going to go ahead with healthy Skinny Taste. They do take a little bit of time. So take some time. And then vegetarian, but I guess I don't really need to say that, but I'll go ahead and say it anyways, just for consistency. We've got our Skinny Taste. This says it takes 10 minutes prep, 20 minutes cook time. I mean, that's not too bad. So we'll go ahead and say quick and easy. And it's healthy because it is Skinny Taste and chicken. Although you could probably do that with beef and stuff too. Now let's see if we have any comments here. Lawrence, thanks. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to keep it clean. That's where I feel like I tend to get in trouble when I try to do meal planning boards and stuff, is that I get so into organizing and categorizing things that I end up with a ton of lists. And that becomes a lot more cumbersome and it's a lot less simplistic for me to kind of work with on a weekly basis, right? Okay, so we've got, crock pot. Okay, this was another thing that I wanted to do, is have either a label or a custom field for like whether this is a crock pot thing, an air fryer thing, but or stovetop. So I kind of feel like I don't necessarily feel like I need a label for every option, whether, how exactly I'm going to make it. But I think for things that are going to impact the amount of time it's going to take, as well as my involvement with it, I feel like I want to have a label for that. Because as you'll see, when I'm going through and creating some of the automation here, I want to be able to specify, like if I know I have a really busy week, I might want to do, even 2 crockpot recipes that week, because I know that it kind of like does its own thing once it's set, right? And so that is something that I want to be able to address here. So let's go ahead and we'll pick another color. We'll say crockpot. And then I think the only other one that I am really going to put here is when it's stovetop, because typically, not always, but typically that requires more hands-on attention, right, while it's cooking. So I do want to keep that included here as well. Okay, so this one is, let's see, it's stroganoff, 8 hours, but it's crock pot, right? So so let's go ahead, and it's not skinny taste, I don't believe. No, it's not. Okay. So I'm going to come in and say it's not so healthy because it's got some cream and whatnot to it. So it's going to be a little bit less healthy. Do crock pot beef and take some time. And then the 2 more. Sorry. Last ones I've got here. Oh, we just made this the other day. I should say, my husband just made this the other day, and it was real good. Okay. So labels. So this one, prep time, 35 minutes, that's not insignificant. So I'm going to go ahead and say take some time. This was in the air fryer, so I'm not going to put anything on that. It was relatively healthy considering. Probably the worst thing in it was, I would say the honey. Even honey's not bad. Like it really was probably pretty healthy. And then pork, because that's what that is. And then we'll come in here to our last one. This one is really good. And then I'm going to add here, this really depends on what kind of sausage you want to put in. So I'm going to go ahead and put beef and turkey, because sometimes we use turkey sausage. And then I'm going to say stovetop, because this is a recipe that you do kind of have to pay attention to. Okay. So we're relatively set up on like the organization there and everything. I will come back to, I'm going to go into automation first, and then I'm going to come back to later adding any custom fields, because I'm not thinking at this moment that I am going to use the custom fields in the automation. I think I'm going to stick with the labels for my buttons and everything like that. And so, but we will use those custom fields, and we will probably, if the way my mind is thinking right now, we will probably use a power up there as well. So, okay. Let's go into automation, and you guys are going to see how many crazy automations I have in here. Just to be fair though, these are not all mine. Some of these I make for clients, and so they're in my account. So they're not all running on my boards, but it's a fair amount of automations. Okay, so the first thing I want to do, before I even build it, let me explain it. So our grocery list here this is where all of our like checklist items are going to go. And this is why it's specified the way that it was. So we've got our grocery list checklist on our grocery list card. And then if you remember, all of our cards, our recipe cards, have a ingredients checklist, but specifically they all have the exact same name on their checklist. And that's to keep our automations simple and not need a ton of them. So I'm going to come in here, back in here to automation, and we're going to create a new automation. I'm starting to wonder if I want, well, I can do it after, but I'm starting to wonder if I want to put the grocery list on its own, like on its own list as well. But I don't know. Let me think on that, because I might need to do that if I'm going to potentially go grocery shopping at different places. Like maybe some of the stuff I get at Costco and some of it I get Fred Meyer, or some of it, so I might want to split that out, but I don't think it's relevant to our automation that we're going to build right now. So we'll do this first, and then maybe we'll pop over there. Okay, so the trigger that I want here is when one of my recipe cards moves over to the this week, or whatever I called it, this week's menu. So when a card is added to this week's menu, that's my simple trigger. And I'm going to go to checklists here. And I am going to say, let's see, I know you can do this. So let me figure out how I want to do this. I don't want to check all the items. Oh, here we go. So we're going to add. Wait. Why did I think I could move checklist items? I can move checklist items. Clearly, I didn't practice this beforehand because I wanted this to be live. And I want you guys to see what happens when things don't work the way you expect them to, because sometimes they won't. So I'm going to go ahead and see. We want to copy. Oh, that's why. I think that's what I'm looking for, is a copy. No. Where's my copy? Okay, I know I've done this before. If anybody watching remembers where this is, please let me know. But I swear I've done this before. Let's see. No, it's not going to be in there. It's going to be in checklists. So I'm going to say, here we go. That's what I was missing. Okay, so add the ingredients checklist from, and here's where we're going to get a little fancy, because we obviously are not going to make an automation workflow for every recipe card that we have. We're just not going to do it. So we are going to use a variable here. So we're going to say trigger card. I want to say it's going to be a link, but we'll find out when we test it, because we always test our automations. So add the ingredients checklist from the card that triggered this automation. So the one that got moved over. Okay. We're not going to rename to the card. But I don't want to add it to the same card. I want to add it to a different card. I know this can be done. This is driving me nuts because I know this can be done. Okay. Add the ingredients checklist from trigger card. No, I don't want to rename it. Wow. Okay, well, this is going to seriously mess with my whole flow if this doesn't do what I want it to do. Okay, so here's where I'm going to go to my friend Google. I probably won't screen share that. I'm just going to go Google. Can I copy? I'll read to you, say to you what I'm typing, but can I copy a checklist from one card to another automatically in Trello? I know you can. I swear I've done this before. I mean, I know I've done it for sure, like item by item, but we do not want to do that. That will take forever. So, okay. So Google AI is telling me, yes, you can copy the checklist from one card to another, but the process is not fully automated through a single built-in action. Okay, see, this is why it wasn't working the way I expected. The most direct method is to use the copy items from option when creating a new checklist on a target card. Okay. So I think what I want to do is we're going to, I saw it somewhere. Where was the create? Add an empty checklist. See, but again, this is... Okay, but what if... Okay, hold on. Can I move a checklist between columns? No, you can't directly move a checklist. Okay. So sometimes the ideas that we have, we don't exactly know how to do them. And this is why we Google, and this is why we go to other people's YouTube videos and all that good stuff. So, okay, how do I copy a checklist? Let's see if somebody has given us an answer. I'm not screen sharing this only because I don't own this other person's information. So I will let you guys know, what I figure out. But okay, this is showing, like if you do it kind of like a checklist template, which I'm not sure if you guys are aware of that, but when you are manually adding a checklist to a card, you have an option to copy items from, and then that will copy it all over. But that doesn't help us here if we're trying to automate, right? Um, so, this is problematic. We're going to have to move on to something else, but this is really bugging me because this, I feel like, is a key part of what I wanted to do here. All right, well, we're going to move on because I don't want to sit here and waste time on this. So what we'll do is we'll circle back to that if I get a chance. We're going to go to our cleanup aspect. As I said early at the beginning here, that we want to make sure that we build a board that is going to clean itself. So what that means is that when we have made the recipe, we want it to put itself back in the recipe library as opposed to staying here and us having to manually go move it. I know it's not a big deal to manually move a card or two, but as we all know, when we get busy, we forget, or we just think, oh, I'll do it later. And then this week's menu gets super long, and then it's next week and we still have stuff on there from last week. It just gets cluttered. So we're going to set that up real quick. So what we need to do here, again, we're going to go into our rules. Okay. We're going to create automation. This one's simple because this is just a basic how we move cards around, right? So we're going to say when our card is complete. So when the card is marked as complete in a card, and I'm going to specify this only happens on this week's menu, because I may accidentally hit it on another list, or I may, like I said, I have some ideas for potential other lists I might have that won't follow this same process. And so I don't necessarily want this to always happen. So when the card is marked complete on this week's menu, it's going to move the card. Let's just put it on the bottom of the recipe library. Just put it right back in the library. Okay, cool. So that's super simple. Oh, except I almost forgot one of the most important things that you always want to do when you build an automation that is something that is going to recur. So whether it is a straight up recurring automation reminder or something like this where I'm putting something back in the library, you always want to kind of finish that circle, right? So I marked the card complete, but I don't want it to stay complete. So once it's moved back into the library, I'm going to go ahead and mark it incomplete, which instead of being under add and remove like it was in the trigger is now going to be under dates. And I'm going to mark it incomplete just so that it resets itself. Again, keeping the board, let it clean itself. Okay. So just for an example, let's come in here. We'll move our card over here. Okay. We've now had this meal. Let's go ahead and mark it complete, and it should move itself back. And it's on the bottom like I told it to be, and it is now incomplete again. Okay, so we know that part is going to work. So now let's get to the part where I got super inspired by Brittany and her video that she did a couple years ago that I saw. So we're going to create a button, actually, because sometimes you kind of know either what you want to make that week or what you have in the pantry or in the fridge. And so you may, manually choose a couple of things like, oh, okay, you know what, let's make taco salad this week. And, let's, whatever, let's make that air fryer pork tenderloin again. We know that, but that's only 2 meals, right? And taco salad, if you've ever made it, doesn't keep really well, even if you don't put the dressing on it. So you're going to make a smaller amount or the amount that your family needs in order to finish it, typically. So that being the case, that's not going to give you leftovers. So that's only going to give you 1 day. The pork tenderloin might give you leftovers, especially if you're including other sides and things like that, which, if I remember correctly, we did it with rice and broccoli, if I remember correctly, I think. And so we had that for 2 days. So that could be 2 days, but now we've still got, quite a few days left over, but I don't know which one of these I want to make. I still have time to go to the store. So it's not about what I have in the fridge or in the kitchen already. So I'm going to create something that and I've never done this before. Like I said, I didn't even know this existed, but I'm super excited about it. I'm going to create some buttons here that are going to randomly choose what we are going to make that week. Okay. So I'm going to base this on a few things. Right now, I don't know how many of these buttons will actually build out here on the live, but what I'm thinking right now is for sure I'm going to do a button based on the protein source, because like if we're already having a whole lot of chicken elsewhere, I don't want another chicken thing. Now I might want something vegetarian, or I might want something that's got beef or whatever. So that is definitely going to be one of the categories that I do when I make these buttons. But then I'm also probably going to do buttons based on, I'm debating if I want to do for healthy, not healthy. Probably not. Probably not going to do that. I'm definitely going to do the protein source, and I'm also going to do how much time it takes. Because something that is, if I know I'm busy, or if I already know that I have 2 recipes that are time consuming that week, I'm probably going to want some quick and easies the rest of the week, right? So let's go ahead and start with, let's do chicken. I don't know. I thought I want to be clever, but I'm not clever about this. If y'all have title button names for me that are clever for these different automations that we're doing, let me know, because I'm not clever today. I worked all day and my brain is already fried. So we're going to just say chicken random, and you guys are going to hopefully give me better suggestions so that these can be more fun later. But what I'm going to do is go to an action. And now I don't remember where to find this, so I'm going to look for a quick second. We are going to create a, no, it's not this. Okay. Where was it? Is it sort? No, it's not going to be sort. Cascade, maybe? No. Oh, no. I hope it really exists. I hope they didn't get rid of it, because I saw her do it before. Okay, so we don't want to mirror. Gosh, this is not going to be fun if it, doesn't do any of the stuff. Move. No, move. Okay. I know I saw this in her video. Okay, what I'm looking for, if anybody's used it and you know where it is, let me know. She had done something where there was an option to find or have it pick a random card from a particular list, and I'm assuming it allows for filters, which is why my button, I'm planning on doing it with categories. But you basically it'll choose a random card from that list and move it to another list, which would then basically be randomizing, doing like a Russian roulette on what you're going to be having that week. Is it maybe not a card button? No, it's got to be a card button, right? Content. If anybody knows, like I said, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I'm going to have to go to Senior Google for this one again. Okay, I think I am going to. Can I have Trello button choose a random card from a list? Yes, you can. Okay, so where is it? Oh, it's a board button. That's why. I don't do a whole lot of board buttons. In fact, I almost never use board buttons. Do you guys use board buttons? If so, what for? Because I just never do. Okay, so we'll go back to chicken random again, add action, move cards. Oh, here we go. Okay, so move. Oh, you know what? That makes total sense, because it has to be a board button. Let me explain now that my light bulb has gone off. It has to be a board button, because if it was a card button, you would have to open a specific card in order to click it, in which case, how would it randomly select another card, right? So that is why it obviously should have been obvious for me, needs to be a board button. So we're going to say move one randomly selected card. It doesn't look like it's going to let us filter. So we're going to not make it chicken. We're just going to say random. Oh, that's interesting. That's a bummer, actually, because I was really hoping that we would be able to break it down and have it do, based on certain parameters, especially the, quick and easy to make or not quick and easy. But I guess we could do like one random recipe a week, and then the rest of them we fill in based on what that recipe was, right? So that can kind of just be the wild card. So move one randomly selected card from recipe library to this week's menu. Okay. So we will save our button. And then you could see, I'll probably pick a different icon for that because that's no fun. But for right now, we're going to click this button and let's see what it's going to move over. We can see our automation running here. Okay, it ran. So what did we get? Oh, we got blueberry muffins. Okay. Well, so that's obviously not a dinner. And here's where I'm now thinking that I might also want to use maybe a custom field to indicate if it's a lunch/dinner or a breakfast, because I don't always meal plan breakfast. Maybe I should, but definitely lunch/dinner. So that might have to be, now that I'm realizing that you can't put a filter in that board button. See, now this is how you know that I swear I did not look at any of this in advance, because I totally assumed we'd be able to put filters in that, just like we put filters in all kinds of automation. But because we can't do that, I may need to have a separate list for, that was a board button. I may need to have a separate list for breakfast stuff, because I don't necessarily want breakfast items to pop over into this week's menu. So that might be a separate list that I make. In fact, let's go ahead and do that right now. Breakfast/brunch. Not that we can't ever do breakfast for dinner, because we can, but that'll be something that we do by choice and not because of the randomizer. Okay. So let's go ahead and put this one back over here. And I am actually going to go ahead and set up a couple of custom fields here, like we were talking about, because this is making me realize that the automation that we set to keep our board clean, now that I'm adding this, does not necessarily cover everything, right? Because now we have a potential decision that our automation workflow has to make when the card is marked complete. It needs to decide, am I breakfast or am I not breakfast, right? If I'm breakfast, it should move it back over here. If I'm not breakfast, it should move it here. Does that make sense? How are your boards coming? Are you guys building with me? Tell me how it's coming. Are you running into any snags like I have been? Or is everything just running smoothly? Are you super excited to start using this? Let me know in the comments. But let's go in, and we got to do a couple of things to clean this up. So we're going to add custom fields. I'm going to add a new field, and I'm just going to say meal type. We're going to make this a drop down. I don't need to see this on the front of the card because I'll know because of which list it's on, right? So I'm going to say breakfast/brunch, and then I'm going to add one more option for lunch/dinner. Okay. We'll go ahead and create that custom field. Again, if you don't have paid Trello, if you are in a free workspace, just do this with labels. You absolutely don't have to do it with custom fields. I'm just already seeing that I have a fair amount of labels going on here, and I don't want to add more personally. But that's aesthetic choice. That is my personal opinion and preference here. But we got our meal type. And then now that I'm in here, there were a couple other things that I was going to add that I kind of hinted at earlier, custom field wise, which is prep time. And we're going to make this a number, and you'll see why in a few minutes. So we're going to add prep time, and we're going to add cook time. And same thing, we're going to make this a number and we're going to show it on the front of the card. So I have at least a couple of recipes here that I have that information. So we've got on this one in particular, prep time 10 minutes, cook time 20 minutes. So this is lunch, dinner, prep time 10 minutes, cook time 20 minutes. Okay. So you can see here on the front of our card, we can actually see our prep time and our cook time, which is super nice. I like having that ability to know kind of at a glance when I'm looking through rather than having to open every single card. That's really handy. Plus, if I'm on mobile or anything like that, it'll be super easy to do that as well, to see that without having to click into every single one. So, and plus there's an added thing that I want to do with all of this, like I mentioned. So let's go ahead and, gosh, I'm so upset about that checklist thing, being able to copy them over. I might have to do like a follow-up to this, because if it's not possible to do it in one action like I thought it was, and I swear I've done that before, but if it's not possible, then I'm going to have to come up with a workaround. I'm going to have to come up with some sort of solution. So when I do, I will do a tutorial here on the channel. It won't be a live like this, but I will do a follow-up video so that you guys can see what I figured out, because my plan, and I'm sure you figured it out when I was trying to decide what I was going to do, but the idea was that when a card got moved over to this week's menu, its ingredients list got populated on the grocery list. And then before I go to the grocery store, I would sit with this one grocery list card open. I would look through the pantry, look through the fridge, and check off any of the items that I already have so that I don't have to buy them, right? But if they're all going to just stay on individual ingredients cards, that's annoying. I don't want it to have to be that way. And I swear there's going to be a way, some sort of workaround around that. But let me just say one thing here, though. Either way, if it's that we add everything to one massive grocery list, or we have to look at all of these individual ingredients checklists while we are looking through, like I said, our pantry or our fridge before we go to the store, you're going to want to build in an automation that's going to, well, depending on which of those things. If it's the first one where it's a grocery list all encompassed, we're going to want to remove all of the checklist items after we've gone to the store, right? Clear out that grocery list so that it's empty for next week. If it is something, and I'll show you how we could do that, but if it's something where we have to go through these individual cards, which I don't love, but if it is, and we're going to be checking off items here on our ingredients list, either when we're shopping or when we're looking through our kitchen and seeing what we have, we are eventually going to want that to reset itself, right? So let's real quick, while I'm saying that and thinking it, let's add into, because we actually have to do our a couple of things to this automation that we had set up, because remember, now we've added a separate list for breakfast brunch items, and we want to add in a checklist cleanup, right? So let's go ahead and go into enabled. So this is the automation we had set up. When the card was marked complete, it was supposed to move itself back to the library and mark itself incomplete. But we're going to make a few tweaks here. We're going to edit our trigger, which means that you have to trash can it first. We'll come in here to edit our trigger, and we're going to say, okay, when a card is added to the list, but now we are going to go ahead and add, wait, no, this wasn't our trigger. Hang on. This was our trigger. When a card is marked complete in a card, here's our filter, and we're going to go ahead and say two things. We're going to say that its custom field meal type is lunch, dinner. Okay. So we're going to say that custom field type is lunch, dinner. That's already going to kind of specify, because this is, we want it to go back to the the recipe library and not to our breakfast brunch list, right? So with that meal type on it, then our actions are going to be move the card to the bottom of the recipe library, mark the card incomplete, and then the last thing we're going to add here is resetting all the checklists. So if for whatever reason we have been checking off the items in the ingredients list, whether it's while we're grocery shopping, checking our pantry, or while we're making the meal. We want them to all be unchecked again when the card comes back around or we decide to make it again the next time. Okay. So that is our updates to, those are our updates to that one. But now we also need to make a version of this for breakfast brunch, right? Because that is now an option. So even though there's a couple of things we're going to have to tweak on this, I'm going to go ahead and copy our automation. We are going to make a different choice here. That because I could remember exactly how I wrote it, I'm doing this. If I didn't remember exactly, we would be trash canning the trigger and going in and letting it give us our options, because it's absolutely vital that it's exactly the same, right? We're going to move the card to the bottom of the list, and instead of recipe library, we want it to go back to breakfast brunch. We still want it to mark the card incomplete, and we still want it to reset the checklists. Okay. So here are our two automation workflows. Okay, the last few minutes here, I want to show you what I'm thinking about this prep time, cook time, because I feel like it will help me visually to be able to see on my this week's menu, like how much time am I going to be spending on like making an actual meal, right? Whether it's prep time or cook time. So I'm going to use dash cards because I love dash cards. If you guys don't know dash cards, or if you don't have access to custom fields, this won't be as helpful for you. So this is a call out. This is a premium feature that we're going to be looking at here. Not dash cards itself, but just the way that we're going to use dash cards. So we're going to hit add power ups. We're going to come in here and find dash cards. Welcome to dash cards. I've used them a million times. I don't need their instructions. Okay. But I think I do need to. There it is. Okay, so we were looking for this little guy. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to create a special dash card. I'm actually going to make two, I think. So I always have a tendency to start with this template. I don't know why, but I'm going to just do it again this time. So we're going to customize this, and I'm going to say prep time this week. We could change the background. I'm just going to pick a color right now because we don't need to waste time looking for images. But we're going to go ahead and say on this board and this list, because this card will just live at the top of this week's menu. So no reason to get extra fancy there. But we're going to go ahead and start tracking. And you're going to see that we have our card here, but we're not trying to count how many meals we're making this week. We actually want to do something a little bit fancier. So we're going to come into the card itself. We're going to explore and edit. And then we're going to look at metrics. Why is it not? Oh, because there's nothing on that. Hang on. Sorry, let me explain that. So the reason that it wasn't giving me any more options, any more metric options, is because it's only looking at this list, and the card that I put the prep time and cook time on is not on this list. So it doesn't even exist to this dash card right now. So we're going to go ahead and move that one over so that now it does. So we'll open this again. We'll come in here to explore and edit. And now see we have 3 metrics. So now we're going to say this was a prep time card. So we're going to say we want it to sum up the prep time on the entire list. Okay. So that is card number 1. So this is telling us minutes, how many minutes this week we're going to spend. And then we're going to actually make a copy of this and just kind of tweak it for the cook time. So we're going to then say cook time this week. We'll just pick a different color. We'll start tracking. And again, we'll come in here, explore and edit metrics. Only this time we're going to do cook time. Okay. I think I might actually. I don't know. I'm trying to decide if I want to specify minutes. I think I would already assume that it's minutes, right? Because I'm not going to cook for 20 hours this week. So So yeah, so there we've got that. So now if we go ahead and just throw in some times on one of these others. So we got prep time, 15 minutes, cook times. So, well, the turkey has to be cooked. So cook time, 10 minutes. Okay. And so now we can see that our dash cards are updating. So we know that this week so far, based on what we've got on this recipe list or on our menu, we're going to spend 25 minutes across the whole week doing prep and 30 minutes cooking. Does that make sense? So this is still a work in progress, as you can see. Sometimes you can't build the entire thing in an hour, but I think we made a lot of good progress. I'm happy with where this is going. And I'm confident that I'm going to come up with a way to deal with that checklist issue that I was having, because there has to be a way. There has to be, right? And it can't be that I have to tell it to copy over every single line item. If it does, I'm going to be really sad about that, because I mean, worst case scenario, we have to open each card as we're looking through and doing our shopping. But for me, it's always like path of least resistance. So I want it all to be in one card. So I just have one thing open while I'm shopping and doing all that. It's just so much cleaner. And it's a lot easier for me to make sure that I don't miss something on a particular card. So I'm really hoping for that. And like I said, if I find that, then I'm going to go ahead and do like a tutorial or something else here on the channel that shows you how I got around it. So if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss it when I do that. Yeah, we've just got a few minutes left here, but if anybody, I'm either going to give you guys a little bit of time back, or if anybody wants to share anything about their planner that they were building while we were doing this together, please let us know in the comments. I would love to hear if you guys came up with any ideas that I didn't. If you liked any of these ideas, if there was anything that I did in particular that you're like, I am definitely going to do that on my meal planner, I want to hear about it, because that is why I do this. That's why I do these live videos, is to be inspired by others and to inspire others. So, yeah, I'd love to know. Otherwise, I think that's it for now. I just have a lot of data cleanup to do. As you saw, I still have quite a few recipes, and I need to keep adding recipes to this, obviously, because the way that randomizer is going to be more fun is when you have a lot of recipes for it to choose from, because then it's going to find stuff that you forget is even on there, right? Because you've got like hundreds of recipes on here, and it's going to pick something and you're going to have a wonderful memory of, oh, do you remember the last time we made that? So I'm looking forward to that, but that means that I have a lot of data cleanup to do to get the recipes I already have ready to go. But then also I need to start going out and going to Pinterest and, other places. Like a lot of them are on Instagram reels and things like that now, which is just always so weird to me that I'm so used to going to Pinterest for that. But yeah, so that is one of the things that I want to do, is like really build out a big library here. And I think that that's probably the best way to go, right? Because like I said, if we're doing a randomizer, we want to have a lot of great options. Oh, the last thing I was going to do, let me just real quick, before I forget, we've got like 2 minutes here, but I'm going to just do it real quick, because I was mentioning that not everything is something that I want to cycle through, right? I mean, we've already brought breakfast, brunch stuff out from our recipe library, but there was one other thing that I wanted to add here, and it's going to be something along the lines of holiday recipes, because I definitely, once I've built this out to something that I'm actually using, I want it all to be in one easy place, so that I know this is the source of truth for where all my recipes are, and that I don't have to go digging for anything. And so but I don't want this to be part of my randomizer, part of my recipe library, because typically, not always, but typically recipes for the holidays are specific to the holidays. You don't make them year round. You wouldn't want them mixed in with everything else. So that was the last idea I had there, of wanting to have something that was kind of separate. I'm going to just check the comments real quick here. I see, Rodney, you were late. That's okay. You can go back and watch the replay. That's the beauty of it. Melanie, thanks for this. My first attempt to understand the cool stuff Trello does. Oh, welcome, my friend. Welcome to the dark side. Yeah, okay. So she's saying here that she would probably not use it for a meal planner. I totally get that. but seeing the approach helps you understand Trello, which is exactly why I did this. I wanted it to be stream of consciousness because we're all going to have different reasons that we use Trello, but seeing how somebody comes to a specific board build, I think, is so much more helpful than just seeing their their template or whatever, right? Understanding like the logic that went behind it and why we built it a certain way, I think is super helpful. So it's not too late if you watch this back later and you have comments or want to share some stuff that you decided to build out in your meal planner or a different type of board, Melanie. Please don't hesitate. Leave it here in the comments. And if you liked this, let me know. And because I'm thinking about this maybe being a thing that I do, like maybe once a month or something, that I do a build with me here. Like I said at the very beginning, they might not all be Trello, but let's be real, probably a lot of them will. So if there are particular types of boards that you want us to build together, drop those in the comments because I will be coming back and checking later and hopefully keep doing these. All right. So I hope you guys have a wonderful night and I will see you guys soon.